Alright, gaming compute. So, talking about e-commerce, digital marketing, once you are kind of familiar with how to address a specific niche, you kind of have some some research to do before you actually decide upon what niche you're gonna choose. I wouldn't necessarily recommend, like, okay, so let me put it this way. Sometimes people can make choices and it might work out, right? So a lot of times what happens is people get all like extra gung-ho and super motivated and pumped up, and that's cool, but without doing the research, a lot of times what people do is they'll buy a domain name, so say if I wanted to call my store Electric Soul, that's the name of a book, electricsoul.com, and I was gonna take that electricsoul.com and my niche was selling cables, USB charging cables, anything USB to HDMI, USB lightning cable, USB to whatever type of charger, just different types of USB varieties, portable chargers, power strips with USB ports, anything around USB. Say that was my niche. I don't even know. I'm just making something up. But say I did no research, right? I'm just choosing a name because I think that name sounds cool, and like, okay, I'm going to just run up this store selling these like chargers, right? Now, I've done no research. I know nothing about, is the name going to be something that, has some kind of searchability to it without it having to be specific to your brand. So that's something that becomes a little difficult sometimes, right? If you understand what I'm saying. If you have a brand where if Electric Soul is your brand and you're selling USB, varieties of USB chargers or USB cables of different kinds and anything that has to do with USBs and charging, if you don't have the name USB in your name or charger in your name or port in your name or anything that somebody might just naturally search when they're looking for something like a USB type of charger, you're going to have to figure out a way to get traffic to your store. Now, Electric Soul isn't maybe too far-fetched because it has the word electric in it, but usually if somebody was gonna search something that sounds like that, that title almost sounds more like music related, like some kind of like disco music, soul music, neo soul niche of music, something else. It doesn't really sound exactly like what you're looking for. So your task would be, if you're just going in cold without any research, you're going to basically have to figure out how to make your store's name pop up when people are searching. And so one way around that issue is to learn about keyword research, learn about how that applies to your niche. What are people searching when they're searching for USB cables, when they're searching for portable chargers, when they're searching for wall plug power strips that have USB ports? What are they searching for? Like what, so if you used a keyword search tool like something on Ubersuggest or somewhere like that, and searched out certain words or terms to see what other people are searching, You can also use Google Trends sometimes just to see if the niche that you're thinking about is like at all on anybody's radar. I mean, it takes a bit more research usually if you're gonna do it kind of in a way that's gonna help you. Like, you can technically run up a store with any old name that has nothing to do with anything, and people can find you. But you know, you do have to do a lot of other. You have to do a lot of other things. Like, for example, a while way back, probably in the 90s, I made this blog that the name of it was, I think people organically searched it either for psychological topics because it seemed like it had to do with sensation and perception, or for tech topics because it seemed like it had to do something with like the iPod or the iPhone or something like that. And so I got a lot of traffic towards this blog, and I wasn't really doing much. All I would do was post and put up a picture, put the source of the picture, with a link to where I originally got the picture from, and I just put out some blog post about something. Like, eventually it kind of became like a thought-provoking positivity kind of blog, like positive thinking type of blog. But I was just playing around. I wasn't like interested in like niches and that kind of stuff. I just needed a project and I was kind of just working on it. But it was just a creative project, but I noticed it was getting a lot of traffic, and I was like, wow. So I don't know where the traffic was coming from, but I could kind of see certain people were going to it to read certain types of posts. Now, I never really fully used those analytics to really drive what I was doing. I would just post about whatever the heck I wanted, but the majority of the content was kind of like that positive thinking stuff. And then I'd have other stuff like reviews on like software, or like some kind of review about some kind of hardware technology or something. Like it wasn't very directly on niche. I kind of went off topic, but I was just doing whatever. I was just having fun posting. I didn't really know or care about that kind of stuff back then. But people were finding it because I was consistent. I definitely had like a lot of backlinks. I definitely was posting on, I think back then it was like Google Plus or something, and then I was posting it to Facebook. Like, I was using 3 different platforms to kind of share the content, some of it or most of it, I don't know, but I was able to just drive traffic that way. And so sometimes it can help when you have something that you're just consistently posting on. The hard thing about stores is that you're not always posting on a store, right? Unless it has like a blog or something like that, you're not always posting on there. But a lot of times, I would say you might even have a little better luck with testing out products through use of eBay, or through use of, Mercari or OfferUp or these other platforms, right? The reason why I say you might have better luck with it is because it could be faster. There's not a lot of, trying to like optimize a store or a brand. If you can sell a product on a site like that, at least you'll know it's a product. If you're using those types of platforms, at least you'll know it's something you can sell, that people are maybe organically searching without you really having to do too much. So that's part of something I would, there are the people who are gung-ho and they're like, I want to start, I want to jump in. But if the person doesn't know what they're doing, you're spending money for a domain name. If you haven't researched out your domain name based on your niche and all these types of things, you basically have like a domain name that who knows if it's, something that is something that's gonna lead to, you know, helping you get traffic for your store. And I'm only talking about if you're selling like digital or physical types of products that aren't necessarily services. You know, you can kind of cut out all the hassles of having a store. I mean, or you could have your store and have people purchasing through a different platform and then fulfill the orders through the store. I mean, you can do it that way if it's not going to cost you extra money. You might want to do the math on that, because a lot of these platforms, like say for example, if I had an Electric Soul store where I'm selling these chargers, but then if I'm on eBay also selling these chargers, and every time someone buys a charger from me, I purchase it through my Electric Soul store and ship it to them through that store, fulfilling the eBay order or something along those lines. Like, I don't know, it might be a little complex, but you could accredit the sales to your store that way. But the thing is, you're going to have fees. Like, eBay is going to charge you like a fee for posting, a fee for the sale. Shopify is going to charge you a fee for, you know, there's going to be some kind of shipping fee probably. There's going to be some kind of fee that they take out for every purchase. And, you know, you're going to have your overhead, whatever that may be. But that could allow you to avoid, you know, the ad expenses sometimes. But note, you know, if you don't have a deal where you're paying like $1 a month for the first 3 months on Shopify, if you're just paying it monthly, you're going to pay $39 a month. You know, if you're paying someone to run up a store for you, an optimized store, that's going to cost more money. So if you want to go the spending money route, you know, I would recommend doing the research or having someone do the research, not just like a clickbait artist type person doing the research. Make sure you vet the person and that they have like a credible service, that they have good reviews, that they have proof of their work, that they can show you some kind of portfolio or something, so you're not getting like ripped off and screwed over by people. But that's kind of what I would recommend. But it is kind of hard. It's hard knowing where to start sometimes. So sometimes, you know, one way to get around that is, I've talked about it a bit before, going with what you know. So if I don't know anything about chargers or USB or, you know, chargers or anything about electronics at all, and I don't even use electronics, it's going to be kind of hard for me to like know what kind of problems come up with USB chargers. Like, usually what happens, I think a lot of us have this issue, a lot of times when you buy a charger, eventually it might stop working, right? We all have had this experience where it's like the charger kind of starts giving out little by little. Same thing with headphones. It'll start giving out little by little, and then all of a sudden it doesn't fully charge or it doesn't fully work properly, and you eventually end up having to get a new one. What I do is I usually buy chargers like 2 or 3 at a time, so that, you know, once one goes out, at least I have a spare one already there. So that's one thing to consider, that people might want to bundle items because they're going to break anyways. People usually want cheap items. They want it fast. Most of the time when people need a charger, they need it now, right? If my iPhone charger breaks today, I'm not going to want to wait 2 weeks for another charger. I could go down to the 7-Eleven and within the next 20 minutes, or maybe even less, if I just went across the street to the Ralph's or whatever, you know, I could have a charger right away, you know. So why would someone buy it from your store? Like, what makes it different than the one that they can just go get right now, you know? Or get through Amazon Prime that's going to ship faster. Like, some things, I'm not saying you couldn't build a brand around that, but it's like some things you have to kind of think about the customer, think about why do people buy these products, when do they buy them, what's their need that's coming up. Now if you have some kind of fancy chargers that are for travel or something for, you know, to help when you're in a like something with power bank related features for travel, something that's like a slim product that's like, you know, very portable, very lightweight, waterproof, something like that. Like if you have something with features that are like a little different, that's going to be a whole different kind of story. But really what you want to do in the process when you're trying to kind of niche down, you want to do the research. You want to make sure that you don't, I would recommend not spending a whole lot of money on a store, on a domain name, on web hosting, on, you know, however you're sourcing products, whatever the subscription fees are for all these types of, like sometimes Shopify, you have to pay subscription fees for the different types of apps that you add, depending what ads you need. A lot of them are free, but some of them aren't. So depending which apps you want on your store to help it run better, like say if you're sourcing through AliExpress, you could use Dropshipment or like Zendrop or something like that, to make it so that that company is kind of like a middleman, and you're basically adding items to your store and people shop at your store, and those companies are responsible for the shipping of your product out. Like they fulfill the order for you, if your store's set up that way. But also all this takes time, and you know, unless you have something that's just like so good that like people want it already, then yeah, you're usually gonna want to have things be as easy as possible on you. You know, I mean, it's not as exciting to sell stuff on these other types of platforms, but and it's not you know, it would be inaccurate for me to say that if you can't sell something on eBay, then you can't sell something on your own personal Shopify store. I wouldn't really say that, because I think with the Shopify store, you kind of have more control over your branding, more control over your, you know, you can build out social media, you can build out a community, if there really is like a lot within that niche that you can kind of you know, create content around. Even you can kind of do a little bit more with it, or a lot more with it, that, you know, like maybe you test out chargers with different products or something, and it's like for entertainment factors. Maybe you found like a power bank or something that's really sturdy, and so you have different times where you're like you know, dropping something. Like I remember the guy way back, I don't know, I think he's now called like I don't know how to pronounce his name or how it's spelled anymore, but it's something like SCXRLD or something like that. I don't remember, but he used to go by Mazzy Maz, and it was kind of more like comedy based, kind of funny, like wacky kind of personality. He would read like people's weird, embarrassing stories, and he had this thing in his videos where he would always just like fumble, kind of on purpose, and like throw his phone. He would be like, what? Like when he would read like a story and it would be like really like outrageous, he would be like, what? And he'd like throw his phone behind him or whatever. And I don't know if you mentioned or someone else mentioned that I don't know if he had some kind of sponsorship with Apple or some kind of thing with like some kind of case or something, or maybe he mentioned it. I don't know if he really had a sponsorship back then, but there was something he did that got the attention of someone where he mentioned it, but I don't know if he fully was getting sponsored. But things like that, you know, if you had something that you know is supposed to be durable, like if you were making some kind of video content, maybe short form little jokes or like riddles or something, and then every time you like drop it on the ground or something, and then you still prove that it works or whatever. Like, I mean, it's stupid, but it's like you could create infinite amounts of content around that nonsense, and it would just be a little bit of proof that like, hey, this product that I'm selling actually, you see me dropping it and throwing it in all these videos, let me see how many videos it takes for one of them to break when I'm dropping it every day or every week. You know what I mean? It's a little fun, but it's like, you can have things like that. It's a little part of advertising that's a little weird. It's a little quirky, but it's like, it wouldn't have to have a lot of depth. It wouldn't take a lot of effort to create a video like that. Now, if the power bank was crappy and it broke all the time, that wouldn't be a good selling point. But if every time, you were dropping it every other day, making video posts every other day, and this thing still lasted you like a year when you've dropped it like, almost 200 times or something, that's good. That's, good proof, like, you're not guaranteeing that if somebody drops theirs once, it's not going to break, but it's like, now you have proof that this thing doesn't break easily. You've used it every day of the year or every other day of the year, and tested it every other day of the year after dropping it, and it has never broken. I mean, I'm pretty sure that would drive traffic to want to buy that stupid thing. And I mean, it's dumb, right? But it's like, little things like that might catch on. People might just be like, this is stupid, but you might be able to prove, draw something on it that you can prove this is the same exact one that I'm using every time, and proving that it still works every week. But I don't know, that's just like a weird idea. But you could do something like that where you could create like a whole lot of content like that, that's just like, you're doing one little thing and then like dropping it off your desk every day or something, and like or maybe like you're reading a piece of tech news every day and then dropping it off your desk, something to keep people like engaged with some new, like, they come to listen to whatever it is that you have to say and see if the stupid thing broke, but then people who are new to try to buy that product, they will see you have all these videos posted where this stupid thing never broke. So things like that. But I would say, if you're really not sure, you could always try some of these other third-party platforms. And yes, there are fees for a lot of things nowadays, but you could still make it work and not really have to build a whole store yet. And you can still try to make sales and then try to build out your brand at the same time. That's one idea. And then keep researching things out before you start buying a domain. Like, you don't have to take excessively long on it. You could do this for like 2-3 weeks and try to see if you're making some sales in the meantime with minimal money invested, versus the other way around where you're kind of like doing a whole lot of stuff, so that's what you could do. But it's just one option. There are other options. That's just one option. But yeah, with that, thanks for listening.